Alright, sorry if this is a weird angle, but, the sunroom has nowhere to put my iPad that's above my eye level, so, you get this. And, I need the sun, because it sets at like 5, so I'm getting as much of it as I humanly can. And also I need to keep reading, because, I need to know what is happening and what is going on. And, I'm a ghost again. Please don't do that. Thank you. Okay, so that might happen again. My bad. I'll try not to move too much, but like I said last time, that is not my strong suit. Oh, let's move that. Okay. Chapter 19. This one has a lock tomb on it again, and the chains are broken. When Nona got her sight back, she was lying on a bed made of 3 chairs pushed together. Her sight and her sound and her smell came back all at once, but her memory stayed weirdly distant, like they were shuffling their feet behind a doorway, waiting to announce a surprise party. She did not know the room. She was staring up at a particle board roof with holes in it, and a long flickering bar light, and she was lying in the awkward, rucked-up way one always has to lie on a makeshift bed. That didn't matter. She had been put to sleep on makeshift beds plenty of times by plenty of people. What mattered was that her ankles had been haphazardly bound to one of the struts on the chair's frame, and one of her hands had been tied to the bit of the chair that was closest to her head. I don't like that! The other hand had been chained to the radiator with a type of plastic sheathed chain that people put around their bicycles when they want the bicycle thief to really have to work for it. She had seen that type of chain in the city, usually in 2 pieces, from where it had been cut with pliers. Abruptly, Nona threw her 3rd tantrum. Ooh! Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Okay. The bicycle thing needed a funny tab. Nona had thrown exactly 2 tantrums in her entire life. She couldn't remember anything about the first one, but Pyrrha had told her about it. Pyrrha had been laughing with her mouth, but not with her eyes. Her eyes had been very brown and distant and uneasy, as though this tantrum had reminded Pyrrha of something her brain didn't want to bring back. Everyone could remember her 2nd tantrum. That was when it had been impressed upon her to keep her temper, and it was the reason Palamedes and Camilla always let her go to the ocean, even though it was the most dangerous thing she could ever possibly want, both for their anonymity and just in general. The ocean made her stop being angry and had a prolonged effect, so that a weekly dip meant she was never worse than a little whingy. So yellow there, I guess, since purple. We're going to put purple for narratively important, since that's technically important. Okay, now it's lopsided. Okay, but at that moment, everything that had happened, Pyrrha, the angel, hot sauce, calmly wiped out long and careful weeks of Palamedes and Camilla dipping her in the ocean. Like a baptism. Nona arched her back right up off the chair and let out a long bellowing scream, one that went on forever and ever and ever until her throat broke and healed and broke again, and she was screaming blood as well as sound. This was her warning to everyone else. After she'd done that, she gave in to the simplicity of anger. She tugged and tugged and tugged on the arm chain through the radiator until it should have hurt, but as always happened, she was beyond pain or thought. In fact, everything hurt a lot. It hurt in that slippery, frightening way her body used to let her know that she had made a huge mistake. But Nona's anger gave her the power not to listen. Her hand came free of the chain and the radiator. It made a mess. Next, she had to get her ankles free of the chair, and that was harder because everything was wet now. She had to use both hands and both her feet. For long, helpless, frantic moments, she thought she was stuck, the way she used to get frightened when Camilla had put a shirt over her head and things went on the wrong way, and her head tried to get through the armhole. It was with that same kind of sweating, anxious rearrangement she got her feet free now. The plastic ties were good, like Corona had said, and they didn't break, but Nona came through them, screaming. Ooh, I like that. That is a short and powerful sentence. I'm just like thinking about like, I mean, obviously, no, I don't think anyone really enjoys confinement, that they didn't agree to, but Who do we know that's constantly chained up? Oh, right, Electo. There was nothing in the room but the 3 chairs, which would probably never be used as chairs after what she had done, and a dusty laminate table and the light and the locked door. Nona would have posted herself under the door if she had to. Posted herself under the door? What does that mean? But the door wasn't actually that strong. She brushed some of the mess and a discarded finger off of the seat of one of the chairs, and she hit the door with it. A finger of her hand or her leg? Foot. Whatever. You have fingers on the bottom of your legs, okay? This is very distracting because I'm seeing both myself recorded and the reflection of my face on the actual screen. Sorry. ASMR. Okay. I still love Nona came through them screaming. I should have put a blue one there. I'm gonna put both. Let's do both. We've done both once in a while. Now I'm a little chilly because it's on too strongly. Oh well. Alright. I still discarded finger? I'm sorry? Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. I mean, I'm not fine, but like I'm fine, okay? Angry. She got angry. I don't know why. Never had a zit there before, but hello. The beauty of her anger was not in her strength. Nona's body could never be strong. The beauty was in the fact that she could hit the door over and over as hard as she possibly could as many times as she liked. That was a mess too, but she was angry. The door caved in. The chair's cushion cover had come off, and so had one of the welded arms. The other arm had snapped off earlier. It had been useful when she needed a jaggedy edge to make herself smaller. Ma'am, did you cut off one of your fingers? I mean, I know, like, people dislocate their thumbs to get off handcuffs, but, like... What? Okay, we're fine. Everything's as fine as it will be, ever, in this book, or this series, or my brain. Okay. The second arm had come off longer, and she gripped that one firmly, one hand at the bottom and the other hand atop that one. Even with everything so soggy and slippery, that felt safe. When she finally battered down the last fragments of the door, she stood with the weapon held before her and faced a tight knot of people in their masks, and their combat trousers and their big boots, just like Pasha's boots. The thought of Pasha's boots made her mad again. She suddenly hated Pash. If it had not been for Pash, maybe nobody would have gotten shot. Maybe nobody would have locked hot sauce in the generator room. In front of her was a row of shining holes at the ends of raised guns, and for the 4th time in a very short period, they shot her. She slipped in a puddle and fell backwards into the splintery door wreckage, 2 bullets in her chest and 1 in her knee. Nona got up again, and she was madder than ever. She stamped 1 foot in the splatter and then another. She brandished the piece of broken sheet metal like a sword. And she screamed so loudly that it was coming out of her nose and her eyes and her brain, and every one of those soldiers took a step backward. Okay, I'm putting pink there because that is both very Harrow and very Gideon of her. Like, oh my goodness gracious. Ugh. My heart. Nona turned and ran. Her feet made slop, slop, slop sounds as she fled down the corridor. There were people gathering in front of her with more guns, people who for all their different masks and goggles and hoods, always seemed like the same fake person. Ooh, I like that. Somebody down the corridor shouted, "Disengage, disengage," but Nona's scream was louder. One of the soldiers didn't disengage. They shot her again instead. She raised the metal over her head, and she ran at him. They were screaming through their mask. Nona screamed through hers. The mask the mask that was the front of her face. What? I like that. But what? So we're getting yellow for that. Because, what? What is happening? There was a lot of noise now. Sounds crowded in all at once. It was like being the person in the middle of a traffic island, whose job it was to direct all the heavy vehicles. Nona had once thought that... Once again, I skipped to the bottom where there's a line of dialogue. Gotta love ADHD. I should have one of those things. I used to have one of... No, this is all covered in candle wax because of candles. But I used to have, like, one of those things where I would just, like, do it like this so I wouldn't, you know, so I'd know exactly which line I'm reading. But because of all the candle wax, you can see right through that, so that's not going to be helpful. I'll find something later. Oh well. Nona had once thought that seemed like a wonderful job to get to do, but no longer. Even the Edenite had cringed away from her screaming. They had dropped their gun and their gloved hands were clapped over their helmet, over their ears, and she opened her mouth to remember her teeth. What? I love that, but what? What? What's happening? Okay, I don't even know what tag to put there. Purple? Once again, I'm getting Electo vibes of the whole, like, human body, yes. I remember how to have a human body and how to use it. Someone dropped something over her head. It was a hood and it was tightening at the neck. She reached up to tear it off, but something big and heavy pinned her arms against her body. It was like being swaddled. Nona struggled, but this was a good defense against her, maybe the only defense. Camilla had wrapped her up in a blanket, too, the second time. When it all went dark, her body seemed to remember that she had used something up inside of her, something enormous, and she started to tremble. She trembled so hard she thought she would die, then and there, that this was what dying finally felt like. What dying was finally like. Inside the hood, she heard her mouth say, savage and distinct and cool despite the trembles, "Fool, you're killing her." But she was only talking to herself, after all. Harrow? Harrow? What? I'm sorry. What? I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Why was that so short? Okay, we're putting another blue tab there. Whew. Savage and distinct and cool. I mean, I guess it could be Electo, but that sounds very Harrow to me. There's so much going on that at this point I'm like, there's no point in, like, speculating too hard, because there's some things that are just not going to make sense. Like, how could Electo be part of their thing, even though, like, God is her necromancer or something? Like, they're to... I don't know, okay? I already mentioned this, and, I don't know. You know what would be hilarious? Actually, I don't know what's happening to God right now anyway. We have no idea. These are all, like, flashbacks or whatever. Maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe Harrow's taking Electo away from him. I don't know, that'd be funny. Okay. John 3:20. In the dream, nights did not give way to mornings. The light coming through the clouds changed color, but nothing rose and nothing sank except their chests when they breathed. In the dream, she quite often forgot how to breathe or swallow, and she would choke on her own saliva until the fright passed and the body remembered for her. Ooh, that's interesting. The body remembered for her. Putting a purple there just in case that's relevant. I know it's not capitalized, that would be too obvious. But still. In a darkness that could have been sunrise, he said, "None of us ever wanted to use the nuke. We never thought we would. It felt like a toy. We kept laughing that it came with a manual. I think we were scared of what would happen if we stopped laughing." Why'd you get it then, John? Sorry. We pulled up the floor and put a safe beneath the lino and swore we were never going to use it. G made sure it couldn't be armed. It was never something we were going to blow for real, but it was our leverage. It was a way to force people to listen to us just as much as the money was. Our first method was to keep telling the truth, keep pushing on the FTL story, keep asking hard questions. Our second method was to throw money at it. Our third method was to tell people we got a nuke. We'd got a nuke, my bad. He said, "It wasn't as naive as it sounded. Like, yeah, we were very aware that simply having this thing, that's a serious international incident. But we'd been party to this massive secret, right? We had access to one of the biggest political scandals of all time, and we were key helpers on the cover-up. A bomb would at least give them pause." Guess. It had to. We were sick of how much time everything was taking. We'd been subjected to so much bureaucracy and so much red tape and so many people refusing to do so many things that we were willing to gamble on being tried at The Hague just to stop the process. Ready to make a hell of a mess to buy time, prepared to do anything to keep you going. C kept saying, pick one. Are we more invested in proving this new plan is bullshit or in saving you? I was like, it's both. How can it not be both? How can it not be both? C was like, it can't be both. Pick one and stick to it. Decide what you give a fuck about. Why does it say in saving you? But Kithere is saying that to John. There's something going on there. I'm putting a yellow tab because I feel like that's... It might be significant, it might not be. It's almost, this seems like a third-hand account. Like, it's John telling the story, but it's like, it's not from his point of view, so, like, we don't know. Maybe there's a broken link in there somewhere. He said, I found that the problem with being the death man is you stop giving much of a fuck. The death man. Then he said, rubbing circles into one temple with his thumb, I still can't believe they wouldn't give me the time of the day, and they were scared of me. It's not fair. Either you're the evil wizard and everyone wants to know what you think, or you're the good wizard and nobody cares. It wasn't fair. That wasn't how it was meant to work. Of course. Things never really work out the way they mean to. In the dream, she did not ask him questions. The burnt-out shell of the car was still smoldering. It seemed like the smell was in her clothes, in her hair, in the mud. It was still cold this high up, in the mist, and the cold made the fronts of her arms bumpy, which panicked her until he told her it was natural. I don't know why, but I feel like dark purple for information, this cold, this high up. This probably doesn't mean anything, but, like, we're finally getting some concrete information about where we are, sort of. To an extent, this is why I'm trying not to look at too many other people's opinions on what's going on right now, because I kind of want to figure it out myself. But I don't know if I would have figured out, or did I figure it out myself? I did. I think I did. That this was about Electo and not Harrow. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Everything is confusing, and I'm here for it, okay? That's just... dear God. He said the FDO plan was going steadily by then. More and more nations had given their okay. They were on to arguing over who went in the ships, size and shape, how they could make sure it didn't turn into a colonial exercise on the other side. That's where they met resistance, because the trillionaires were all, we've got our hand-picked guys. There's only so much room. They've already undergone training. This isn't a tourist trip. Nobody liked that, obviously. Obviously wasn't in there. That was me. We'd been calling bullshit the whole time, and now we were getting some traction. I said, give me a year, and I'll see if I can't solve the Tulsi-Tai question by myself. We've already got plans. I can do a hell of a lot with the cryocans now if you let me. Earned some trans-Tasman support, but then the trillionaires banged the wanted criminal drum and put me on the back burner. The bastard said, fine, we'll make room for 200 nominated people. 200! Measly, 2 measly 100. And I was all, they won't fall for that. He said, they fell for it. He said, turns out everyone wanted to nominate someone to go on board, especially if they could nominate themselves. The absolute fuckers. Once they got the green light, they said the first wave would leave in 3 months. We have to do this quickly. Get the second wave ready before our next round of climate starvation. Climate starvation? That's interesting. Also, the sun's going behind a cloud, so I'm turning the fan off. Oof. These rooms are not very good at temperature regulating. Oof. Oh, there's chocolate back here. I forgot that I had chocolate. Ooh, sorry. Okay. Oof. Okay. He said, we paid people to find their engineering facilities. That was a huge pain in the ass. Like, talk about a group of people who couldn't find somebody to buy weed off of, now out looking for mercenaries. Thankfully, P knew a bunch of army guys who knew ex-army guys, and it was all very Soldier of Fortune, which I don't know that reference, but I'm guessing it's a movie. I slept weird. Sorry. There we go. It's a little better. They got caught pretty much immediately, but I was good at long distance by then. I had to practice. I got eyes and ears on the plant that was meant to be the main building site, and I immediately saw it wasn't to spec. The deliveries they were getting weren't even the right stuff to build the ships. They were bringing in random crap to make it look like they were busy. It didn't seem like they had enough people. The superstructures of the new fleet weren't progressing. Best of all would have been to walk into an empty building, but what I saw was immediately suspicious enough for us to be sure it wasn't enough. He said, so I went to the governments that were still sympathetic, sort of like ours, and all the Trans-Pacifics, and we threw down our evidence. I'll take a look at this. This isn't working. They should have stopped the launch and seized the factories until they could investigate properly, but instead, they asked the trillionaires for their point of view. And the trillionaires lied. They lied like their lives fucking depended on it, which I guess they did. They had a glib answer for every question. I swear someone told them we were onto them beforehand. I mean, our cheapo mercs did get caught. They lied, and everyone swallowed their shit. Not only that, they looked at us and were like, we were going to put you fellas in jail, weren't we? Isn't it time you guys stop being independent actors? Aren't you recognized by most nations as a cult? We're all legally appointed officials here except for the trillionaires. Did you know cows recognize one another? They're never gonna let that go, are they? He said, I got mad. He said, back at home I told them, they want to call us a cult? Let's be a cult. It only takes a little bit of eyeliner and a couple capes. I don't think that's how that works, but okay. And already had eyeliner and capes. We tried to keep everything so clean-cut and scientific, but now we were streaming quicker than they could serve us subpoenas. End of the world is nigh, that kind of thing. Join us, live forever. Your governments are lying to you. Before, when it started, I tried to use all these scientific terms. Tried to coin thinnergy. Talk about a word that needed an antihistamine. I tried to make out like everything I was doing had principles I was probably going to write papers on later. I dropped all that because turns out nobody wants papers, nobody wants principles. They want the magic bullet. They just want to be saved. He said, I told them I'd save them. And I said, I'm a necromancer. I mean, that's a good ending line. Quite dramatic. Okay. It turned itself. This book is weird. And I love it. Okay. More, it's gonna be more mysterious chapter headings. Well, not chapter headings, but whatever. Day 5. Crown plays her part. I don't like that. The Saint of Duty. Which one is that? Augustine? No. That's Gideon. So Pyrrha. Okay. Thank God. I was like, wait, it's been such a long time. I can't remember what their names are. Mercy Morn is joy. Augustine is patience? Something. Augustine is something. God, I can't remember. What did they give Ianthe? What did they give Ianthe? I would like to know. I can't remember. The Saint of Awe. Aw. And what the fuck did they do to poor Gideon? Her Most Serene Highness Crown Prince Kiriona Gaia. That's so awkward. I'm sorry, but what? What? Also, I'm guessing that the prince thing is... I don't know why they would do that. But I'm guessing it's gender neutral? I don't know. Tower Princes. Interesting. Interesting name. Tower Princes. Where's the tower? What tower? What's happening? Okay, let's just keep going. I'm not gonna get these answers by sitting here and staring at a page. Okay. Palamedes comes clean. The saddest girl in the whole entire world. Nona watches a duel. The convoy. Paul gets born? Okay. One last trip. 24 hours until the tomb opens. Oof! Oof! Let me say! Chapter 20. This one's got the first house skull. But there's nothing on it. It just has a 1. And it's just a plain skull. The first house skull always has something. It's got the little crown thing, doesn't it? Or is it just a... No, it's plain. Why did I think the crown's the other ones? I guess it's because it's the OG. They just didn't need to give it anything. By the way, I love this font. I love this. I love this font so much. It is so cool. Okay. Once again, we're waking up with Nona, not really knowing where she is. The beginning of yet another chapter. Waking up, Nona didn't know how much of the day and night had been part of her dream. Nona got the disorienting sense that nearly all of it had been imagined, and she was only now starting her day. And she would soon be telling Cam everything in front of the recorder and persuading her out of breakfast. She woke up lying flat on her back with something warm draped over her, and the familiar cheap soap and leather smell of Camilla tickling her nose. One of Cam's jackets had been rolled up and put under her head on top of her pillow. For a happy moment, Nona thought she was home. But the floor underneath Nona was scrubby carpet, not tile, and the walls were unfamiliar. She rolled onto her side. Her vision swam horribly, and she found with a start that she was going to be sick. Nona started dry-heaving pitifully, and there was Cam with the wastebasket, pulling her hair back, saying gently, "There you go, don't force it." So it wasn't Cam. Nona tried to be as sick as she could be, which took a while and a lot of effort. Afterwards she felt better, but as though she had run up and down the street outside the building 5 times in quick succession, and her whole body hurt. "Oh," gasped Nona, and she flopped back on the makeshift bed and shakily wiped her mouth with her arm. She was in a darkened room right next to a long table with chairs, and she hadn't seen it from this angle before. As she hadn't seen it from this angle before, it took her a little while to recognize the meeting room in the Blood of Eden facility, same one as last time. The portrait of the redhead with the cruel eyes, "Wake!" stared down at her from the thicket of dried-up flowers, as though contemptuous that Nona had had the bad manner to throw up in front of her. Yeah, she probably would. Her vision shimmered. She had to lay her head back again. Palamedes was looking at the contents of the wastebasket with a troubled expression, which was gross as well as worrying, and she knew the jig was up. She whispered, "Are we alone?" "Yes, but we won't be for long. Nona, I need to make sure you're all right. Did the bullet come out of my head?" "No, I had to take it out. It got stuck." She was nearly too afraid to ask. "Hot sauce?" "Hot sauce wanted to leave," said Palamedes, "and, well, we let her leave, Nona." Nona's heart felt that the bullet had got stuck there instead. Palamedes continued, "Blood of Eden brought us here to see we suffer, which is fine, and I worked on you under supervision. Most of Tessifon Wing saw the bullet in your head, and of course nobody knew before how quickly you regenerate because we hadn't told them. So they shackled Cam and me and locked you up. Which made me mad." "Which made you mad?" Nona said tentatively, "I made a big mess, didn't I?" And Palamedes said briskly, "They should have bloody guessed. Every mistake they've made with us stemmed from a complete lack of trust, a cowardice, and an unwillingness to let us in on the game. And now that I know what I know, or think I know—" "What do you know, Palamedes? Tell us what you know! Oh my God!" "But Nona, what's more important is that I make sure everything in your body works, because if you'd been a normal human being, we would be planning your funeral." "Don't bother," said Nona, affrighted. "It only made me angry, which I think was a pity," she added belatedly. "What does that mean?" I'm putting another yellow tab there. "Yes," said Palamedes distantly. "It was a pity. But Nona, about that broadcast. You saw it, didn't you? All of it. And you didn't recognize anyone you saw?" The jig was finally up. "Only the girl from my dream," said Nona. Palamedes breathed in through Camilla's nose, and then out through Camilla's mouth. "You didn't tell me that." "You didn't ask," said Nona. "Nona," said Palamedes very, very slowly, "that was very important information. Information that changes everything. The type of information we've schooled you for the last 6 months to tell us instantly. And the type of information Camilla and I personally trusted you to prioritize. This was too much to bear. I had things to think about. Nona wailed. I didn't want to get in trouble. Have Cam and I ever gotten you in trouble? No, and I didn't want to ruin that. Honesty always gets in trouble, and it's terrible, said Nona. And it's not fair, trying to talk calmly and sadly about my responsibilities when I know you're thinking, Nona, I want to beat you with the broom handle. Beat you up with the broom handle. Just say, Nona, I want to beat you up with the broom handle. I'd never use the broom handle on you, said Calamities. Nona was mollified. You wouldn't feel it. If Cam and I didn't love you as much as we do, said Calamities, we would take turns throttling you, then give all your magazines to charity. Magazines? Okay. Calamities had never said the word love before. More than anything, even the idea of her beloved magazines going to charity. Okay, what magazines? Have we heard about magazines before? I don't think we've heard about magazines before. Might be different kind of magazines, obviously, but, you know, that's getting a pink tab anyway. More than anything, even the idea of her beloved magazines going to charity, as though others were more deserving than Nona, the most deserving person on the planet. This broke her. Don't interrupt me. I've got to tell you something, and I have to tell you really quickly, said Nona, only she choked on the rough stuff in the back of her throat, and she said, You know how I've been sick lately? Yes, said Calamities. Well, I thought I was only going to be sick for not much longer, maybe a few weeks or a month, said Nona, trying to organize her thoughts. She licked her lips and whispered up to the ceiling. But now I think I only have a few days. Oh, thank goodness. I said it. Wow, that's a relief. So there really does have to do something with the fucking tube opening. I mean, like I figured, but... Shh, that's getting a dark purple tab. Because I always... See, this is the thing. We don't know what Nona knows, and the others don't know, or what the others know and she doesn't, because I assumed... Yeah, I remember. I talked about this. I had an assumption about why she thought she didn't have much longer. And it might still be that, but the fact that she is so convinced means something else. Knowing what we know about the tomb opening in a day. Calamities went silent. Then he said, A few days of what? Oh, living, said Nona, too relieved at having said it to feel stupid. It's nearly over, Calamities. I'm dying. I've been dying for months. What the fuck? Then Calamities touched her, and he did not throttle her. He ran Cam's soft, chapped hand all over her head. He touched her ribs and her belly, and he pulled off her shoes and touched the soles of her feet. Then he got up and pulled open a drawer on the desk and came back with, of all things, a fat black marker. He said, Nona, put your hands on your hips and put your ankles together. I need a closed circuit. She put her hands on her hips and joined her ankles. Calamities lightly sketched something just beneath the hollow of her throat, saying, Keep still now, when she left, being ticklish. The pen made a lot of little light feathery whips on her, and then Calamities laid it down and said, Here goes nothing. Famous last words. And nothing was what happened as Calamities hovered Camilla's hand over Nona's face, her throat, down the line of her abdomen, except that his fingers were wreathed in fine blue flames, completely smokeless and heatless. They cast terrifying lights in the room, even though they didn't flicker, staying nearly perfectly still. There was nothing more than a slight tingling feeling as he made it all the way down to her feet and back, and then he clutched Camilla's fists closed, and she looked at him and saw that he was bewildered. God save me from literal masking, he said, exasperated. Kithere the First must have enjoyed those games she played with me. Hang on. I mean, like, I know that, like, the events of the first book happened, but they're so fucking different from what anything that's going on in here that I forget that, like, Calamities and Camilla are the only two characters that have made it through all three of the books as kind of main characters. I mean, like, no, Harrow and Gideon are not really part of the equation. Not really, not totally. Even if they are somehow part of Nona, they're not, because Nona is kind of her own person. So, what the fuck? It's just so weird to have that callback to the first book, because it's just a totally different everything has changed. Everything is different. And then he's like, oh, right, yeah, remember that time that, like, she pretended to be the person I loved? And, I'm guessing pretended to be a regular necromancer instead of a lictor? Now he poked and prodded her heart, her belly, the tops of her thighs, the place at her temple where the bullet had gone in. When she flinched, Palamedes said gently, sorry, give me a moment. And she gave him a moment. And then after a long time he said, you're shedding thalurgy like chaff in the wind. Thalurgy, life energy. What's going on? It's almost like a starvation reaction, but Cam and I know you're eating. Not very much, admitted Nona, but Palamedes said, not so little that your framework should have gone into thalurgy metabolism. You're eating your own reserves. You've got the level of retention I'd usually only see in palliative care. Nona, your soul's trying to leave your body. Ooh. Oh! Another dark purple tab. Which of them? Which of them? Is it Gideon's soul? Harrow's soul, I'm assuming, wasn't even in there, but, you know, I'm assuming Gideon's soul is trying to get back to her body. Maybe. I don't know. Alecto is trying to get back to the fucking tomb so she can wake up in there. I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'm fine. Nona puzzled over this a little. But I like my body. It doesn't matter about liking, said Palamedes. What's happening to you is why I can't be in Camilla's body for more than a handful of minutes, Nona. If I stay too long, I start trying to make inroads on her soul. I start trying to bed down and put up new wallpaper and displace Camilla, for all that we've tried to make sure it doesn't happen. At the same time, Cam's body tries to reject my soul, like when you try to blink dust out of your eye. But your body would never try to reject its own soul unless it didn't recognize it, unless your soul was a stranger's or a melange. Is that the Gestalt theory busted or confirmed? Is that how we explain the rapid healing? He was talking much more to himself now. How could she explain? But you see, Palamedes, I don't mind dying, said Nona, trying to make him understand. I've been doing it for ages. I'm not scared. This explanation died on impact. Palamedes said with a voice like concrete, I will not be party to this again. Nona was a little bit afraid of that voice. I'm sorry, Palamedes. No, don't be. It's simply, Nona, we can't let your body die, he said. For one thing, it's the body of someone I owe a favor to, and I'd rather like to see the look on her face when I present it back to her. I am not fine. I'm not fine. And if we lose the body, whither goes the soul? Let's say you are the other soul, and let's say I lose you. You die, she wakes up. The final kick in the pants, and what I gather was a lifelong on kicks, and short on very much else. And yet if I don't preserve her... Ninth, really I sincerely did not want to have to look after your bedamned water bottle. What the fuck does that mean? Palamedes, the fuck does that mean? Water bottle? What? What's happening here? Okay, I need to put a blue tab on us finally acknowledging the main characters of the previous books. Oh, dear God. Nona struggled to sit up. She was wet and itchy with sweat and the ink where the marker had touched her neck. She rubbed it before she could remember not to, and her hand came back smudged with black. Palamedes, she said, do you think you know who I am? I've got a theory, began Palamedes. Crown said she knew who I was, said Nona. Crown says a lot of things. Theories are all we have. Well, tell me your theories, Nona demanded, feeling much better from sheer excitement. Say them out loud. Am I nice? Am I good looking? Do I have lots of friends? Does everyone listen to me? How many legs do I have? What? What is happening? Do I put it? I'm gonna put another yellow tab there, though that's very that's pretty electo of her. I feel like. No, we're gonna put yellow and orange because that's very funny. Or we already have a yellow up. I don't want to pull the yellow off and have to put it back, so we're gonna have yellow and orange on top of each other, being awkward, just like that blue and green. Okay, at least they're like sort of. Palamedes untucked Camilla's legs from underneath him and sat, knees up, feet flat on the floor, and held Nona's hand. He looked at her with those keen, earnest brown-gray eyes, the softest and nicest of grays and browns. Like sheeny earthenware cups. Oh, that's cute. Nona, we never wanted to lead you. Nona said, does it matter anymore? I don't know, which frightens me, said Palamedes. This was hardly to be borne, not after she had waited such a long time and in such circumstances. She said, Palamedes, please, tell me something, one titchy little thing, the smallest and tiniest thing. I wanted to know so badly. Maybe I'm dying of curiosity. Not funny, said Palamedes. Please, said Nona. In the end, he said, all I know is this, Nona. If you're one of two people, current evidence suggests you're not just the first person, the one who owns your body. Okay. Nona thought back to mathematics. But that means I'm the second person. You're not Gideon. My God, you are so not Gideon. Or not solely the first person. This was hard to get her head around. Can one people even be two people? I feel like I've only got enough room inside for me, and sometimes like that room's not even enough. Lictors can, said Palamedes, or at least they thought they could. In fact, all they became were half-dead cannibals. Ooh, I like that. I think a true lictorhood is a mutual death, a gravitational singularity creating something new. A true grand lysis, rather than the petty lysis of the megatheorem. Oh God, Nona, I'm rambling. I'm very sorry. I hate it when I'm like this. Nona moved over to give him a hug. I skipped forward again because my brain was like, dialogue, what's happening? Gravitational singularity. Okay, so he thinks that true lictorhood is the merging of two people into one person. I don't like that. That's like garnet, but permanent. And they get mixed up. I don't like that. I like more the whole that they can, you know, kind of share each other's powers, but still stay two people and still both be alive, because of course I like that better. Okay. Nona moved over to give him a hug. She hugged him like Camilla would have, the one thing she was truly good at, and he fell into it immediately. He put his head on her shoulder and breathed in deep through her nose. Do you remember the girl on the broadcast? He asked. The one who wasn't a startlingly handsome and very obviously dead person with fashion hair? It's funny how he describes Gideon with fashion hair. Why fashion hair? Though I thought that was Ianthe, but like obviously dead person is not Ianthe. The redhead, that one was easy. That's the other body you might come from, said Palamedes. Her real name is Gideon Nab, and we need to get you to that body if we can. Spiritual gravity will do the rest. This was horrifying. But I don't want to be redheaded, said Nona. I do not think of myself as redheaded. And I don't want to be a necromancer or a prince. Palamedes, she said, am I a zombie? Palamedes took her by the shoulders and looked at her. You were born in the 9 houses, Nona, he said. So was I, and Camilla and Pyrrha. We're all zombies, as people here would understand them. I was born with aptitude, so I'm a true zombie, a wizard. Camilla and Pyrrha, who weren't, would be what they call minions. This hurt her feelings. No wonder Hot Sauce kicked me out of the gang, she said, and her eyes numbed with tears again. Hot Sauce is a very young woman who has been living on her nerves for so long that I imagine she doesn't have anything else, said Palamedes briskly. She'll regret what she did at some point. Nona's lip wobbled, and she had to keep swallowing hard. Palamedes carefully sat himself back down and grimaced, and she looked at his shackle for the first time. It was a big, black cuff with an electronic red light that blinked off and on as she watched. He said, It's an explosive shackle. After we suffer saw Camilla and me pull the bullet from your head, I couldn't not work on you. She's come to her own conclusions, and whatever conclusions Crown wanted to give her. They've been very busy since we came back, so they wanted us to stay where they put us. Nona was incensed. I hate it. I hate being locked up. So did Gideon, I gather. Then Palamedes looked very serious, and his face moved as though he were about to say something. Then there was a knock at the meeting room door. He said quickly, Tell Cam she and I need to talk as soon as humanly possible. I will get back to you. You're not going to die on our watch. I haven't been able to save many people in my life, I'm afraid, but I am intent on saving you. Oof. Nona didn't want to lie to calamities, which was why she was grateful that the eyes whitened to that clear, glassy gray that meant Camilla, blinking hard a few times to get her bearings. The door knocked again, and Nona said automatically, "Come in." The door opened, and someone walked in, an elegant, middle-aged person with shadowy eyes. They were wearing no mask and no goggles and no hood, and their hair was pinned up in a neat roll atop their head and wrapped in a brief scarf with a blue stripe pattern. They carried a little suitcase in one hand and 2 bottles of water cunningly gripped in the other, and they crossed to sit in the seat we suffer usually sat in, and got comfortable taking things out of the little suitcase. Paper, clipboards, electronic equipment, pens. When they tilted their head quizzically at Nona, she realized with a start that it was We Suffer. We Suffer with no mask, and a naked face for the first time that Nona had ever seen her. "Do I surprise you, Nona?" she asked quite nicely. "We are beyond the cell disguises now, are we not? They are useful, but only to a point. I do not think you are capable of being tortured for my face." "Why was I tied up?" demanded Nona. "Why did you cuff Camilla? Why did you shoot us? Where's the angel? Have you found Pyrrha?" All great questions. "A comedy of errors, I apologize," said We Suffer. Nona noticed that the light on Suffer's hair made it a quite nice chestnut color, like a rich mouse. Made it quite a nice chestnut color, like rich mouse. I feel like that's a typo. Rich mouse. I'm assuming rich moose. Yes, no, a rich mouse is something. I'm gonna keep going. She was probably quite a bit older than Pyrrha, with strongly marked features and an aristocratic, slightly hooked nose, and her face was marked with lines that showed even beneath a light layer of powder and makeup. If Nona had been less in a woozy mood, had been in less of a woozy mood, she might have thought her pretty, but nothing was pretty at that moment. We Suffer added, "I understand the bonds may seem unfair, but please keep in mind that you gave to my people a very great shock, and since you were the scariest thing I have nearly ever seen in all my days, that should not come as a big surprise." Nona was doubtful. "I suppose I'm sorry," she said, "only I don't think you're sorry for locking up me and Camilla." "Do not bother with sorry. We are also impressed in our own way. I mean, now most people will not agree to be in the same room as you. This is fine. That is fine. We do not need them. Hecht, as I told you last night, this has not all been for naught. Pash has admitted to having recently liquidated a big unit of Mervwing. This is fine. Unjust Hope has not made a huge deal out of it. That was always his way, despite the losses. He will want to keep this quiet for a while. Usually you both meeting with the messenger, whom you call the angel, would have been very bad, but I think we may actually survive it. They were unharmed by the experience. I do not think we need to register Pash discharging a weapon in front of them quite yet. Though when we do, we may all be hauled in front of a firing squad. We are riding the wave. Let us see where it takes us. And whatever the case, Nona, you were impressive. Blood of Eden is quite impressed by blood and guts." What's happening? "You're not answering." Most of this went over Nona's head. "You're not answering my questions at all," she said fretfully. "Who is the angel? I mean, the messenger." "That is above your pay grade," said We Suffer. "You don't pay us," said Camilla. "Yes, my little joke," explained We Suffer. "All you need to know is that they are the one with the little arboreal dog who is elderly. That is enough to know." Fuck is an arboreal dog? Oh, is that what they said, like arboreal limbs? Nona said, "Is the angel important?" "The angel is blood of Eden." What? What is happening here? Yellow or purple? Oh, this is not really information, so we're going to put yellow. I mean, it is information, but it's information that makes no sense. So, yellow it is. "The angel is blood of Eden," said We Suffer, but did not elaborate with anything other than, "In hindsight, not a good idea to keep the angel anywhere near the place we were keeping you, even in the same city. The problem with putting all of your eggs in one basket is there's such a mess when somebody sits on that basket." But how could we know any of this would happen? In any case, we are back. They have placed me in charge of the next move, and Unjust Hope has been bumped to the very backmost seat. For now. Camilla said, "Which means what?" "Which means I need you, Hecht," said We Suffer. "Then take this shackle off my damn leg." "As soon as I can. They would not let me put you two in the same room without it," said We Suffer. "They are impressed by her, as I said, but also very frightened. The house has sent a lictor to negotiate, And then there you both are in the limelight, one of you able to shrug off a bullet to the brain, and the other fully capable of necromancy. A necromancy I knew not of. If you had told me, Hecht, I would have been able to spin it. If you had let me know, we could have thought of something together. Camilla said, You can't control your own people? I cannot ask them to tolerate the intolerable, said We Suffer. I am not a tyrant. I exercise much control you are not seeing. For instance, this affair of yours and Nona's. It has not yet made it to other cells, and the rest of Tesiphon will not tell them. Not yet. Today, this is a family affair, and our hopes and attentions rest on another. Okay. Before Nona could even conceive of looking at Camilla's leg and getting angry again, Camilla gave her the coolest expression, and the desk in front of We Suffer beeped urgently. She glanced at a little flip-top electronic screen in front of her, and she said, 9 in the morning. She is in place. This is confirmed. 9? How long had Nona slept? How little had Cam slept? When she looked at Camilla's face, she saw that her expression had hardened, like the quickset concrete at Pierre's work. This is your last chance, said Camilla tonelessly. Pull her out. Who? What's happening? This is the only move we find it possible to make, and as a move, it is sensitive to time. Who is in place? Pierre? Боже мой, said We Suffer. She volunteered. We need someone on the inside. Without understanding, we can make no move on that barracks, nor find the way forward. She is perhaps the only person for whom this would not be a suicide mission. She said it herself. You should have asked why she said that, said Camilla. I could have gone in. I'm a citizen of the 9 houses. After the last 8 hours? Not one chance. In your own way, you two are too important to lose here. So We Suffer. I need you to hear this as it happens. I need you to translate the nuances, and she needs you to be here for her plan to work. Though she said she would do it alone. She said she was expendable and that you were not. We agreed with this. You've been played, said Camilla. Nona's legs felt weak. She slithered into the chair, and We Suffer quite nicely rolled one of the bottles of water in her direction. She caught it awkwardly. It was nice to feel how cool the plastic was between her hands. She pressed it to her cheeks and her forehead briefly. She was still sweating. Camilla said, Listen to me. Pull her out. She can't do this. Lieutenant Crown knows what she is doing. Okay, my mistake. It is Crown. I don't want to go back and look at what the heading for Crown said, because it didn't sound good. Said We Suffer calmly, though Nona would not have been so calm with Camilla making the face she was currently making. It was like the time Pierre had let Nona smoke a cigarette, and Nona had accidentally eaten half. Honey, why do you keep eating things like that? Please, please, why? Oh, my dear. I have also told you many times this is the swings and the roundabouts. A concurrent vote was called yesterday to set off bombs below the barracks and hope Ianthe and Iberius did not live through it. There is a sense that we must play the aggressor. Blood of Eden has perfected the defensive game, never moving forward, perpetually shifting to our back foot. We awake too much to keep playing that game. Crown understood. I think she plays to win, and we know now we have more to win than ever. Camilla crossed to the table, chain clinking. She adopted a posture that Nona had seen often. Arms crossed over each other, held tilted a little in what Nona always thought of as the fly upward expression. The what? It was a Palamedes posture, and for a moment Nona thought it was Palamedes, but it wasn't. It was Camilla trying to be Palamedes. Listen to me, she said. Every word was like a rock dropped into a tide pool. This is a trap. It won't get you intel. It won't get you what you're calling the key. You walk her in there alone. She won't walk out. She's giving in, not fighting. This was a lot for Camilla to say. Even We Suffer paused and furrowed her brow, and she said, I cannot believe this girl would kill her own twin sister. Kill her? Said Camilla. The little electronic device beeped again. We Suffer tapped a button, and the speakers at the sides of the room made awful noises briefly. We Suffer held a hand up to Camilla in the universal shh gesture and picked up a receiver. Transmitting. Ready, Moo in position. I want snipers ready in case anything goes wrong. Headshots are preferred. Cover Troya if at all possible, but we have been told to take the shot no matter what. Get her out, repeated Camilla, and for the first time there was a raw edge of desperation to her voice. Corona can't lie to her. This is interesting. I don't like it. We Suffer looked at her. For a moment, Nona thought she would really do it. Without the goggles and mask, it was so much easier to translate her. She had a trick of keeping her eyes perfectly even. Pretty brown-green eyes with a touch of evenly applied black stuff on the lashes. Very glamorous to Nona. But you had to watch the mouth. Hesitation showed in the thinning of the lips just briefly. Then it passed. We Suffer pressed a button and said briskly, "Eyes on the area. Are the crowds being held back? Keep the militia on the showboaters. I do not want any stray bullets catching the car or anyone coming out of the building. Yes. No, we'll keep her to audio. The system cannot stand the strain. Yes. You have your orders." Camilla clinked back against the wall. Her eyes closed, and she tilted her head downward so that her fringe, which really needed a trim by now, fell over her eyebrows. Then We Suffer put the receiver down and twiddled a button, and the audio leapt in the speakers. Nona unscrewed the top of the cap of the bottle of water and took a long pull from it, which rinsed away the sour acid taste on her tongue. She nearly jumped out of her skin when the audio, exaggeratedly loud, suddenly tuned into traffic, a car insistently honking so that people let it through. The audio crackled. Someone was breathing, hard, a little too fast. The engine sounded like you were standing right inside it, but you could hear everything. You could even hear hands sliding on the car wheel. People were yelling outside the car. There was the noise of a big metallic bump, and then Crown's voice, indignant, barely a mutter. "Stop throwing things at me, you jackasses." Her voice and the breathing sounded weirdly disconnected, but everything sounded huge and strange for being huge. I like that. The car wheels sounded like they were bumping over something, moving to different terrain. Then Crown said, "I'm through." Crown said, "I'm through," and a cranking sound screeched over the audio as the ignition suddenly died. The car door opened like a bomb going off. Crown's boots clattered on the ground. The yelling sounded far off now, but was still there like a background radio. Oh my goodness gracious, I just skipped forward. Not that in this case it really matters. It was interrupted by a distant voice speaking house. "No step further." Crown's voice, much more explosive and near on the speakers. "I'm unarmed. I'm unarmed. I am a citizen of the Nine, and I ask for sanctuary in the name of the Third House. In the name of the Emperor Undying, please, for the love of God, I'm a sitting sniper target out here." There was a moment of absolute silence. Crown's voice went from panicky to tetchy. "My name is Coronabeth Tridentarius, Crown Princess of Ida, heir to the Third. My mother was Violabeth Tridos. My sister is a lictor, and my brain is about to get splattered on the tiles unless you open this gate and let me drive through." There was another clanging. Something opening and shutting. Someone said hoarsely, "Coronabeth Tridentarius has been dead for over a year. Get in your vehicle, turn around, go." But another voice, even feebler, said, "Look at her." "Okay, I don't like this. This sounds like Ianthe's being possessed by something. What's happening?" Crown, sounding desperate. "My sister's in the cohort compound. She can positively identify me. Hurry up." Of course it's not Ianthe. Why did I think that it was her talking? Another voice, even feebler. "I've been reading too much Lord of the Rings, and the whole Gollum Smeagol thing got to me. My bad. Okay. Look, you understand. I understand, Lieutenant, right? And that's why I'm saying get Ianthe, get my sister. She can identify me or identify my body, whichever you decide. Get me out of this crowd." There was another pause. Crown's breath was much softer now, less labored, less strange. There were clangs and bangs that Nona couldn't parse. She took another swig of water and looked at We Suffer, who had one hand on her flip-top as though it was the trigger of a gun, and she looked at Camilla. Camilla's eyes were closed, and she was shifting weight slowly from foot to foot, one to the other, so gradually that her shackles didn't even clink. There were far-off shouts on the speakers, more clanging, voices saying something Nona couldn't hear. Then there was a silence made up of all those background noises, a nonsense of sounds stuck together, another far-off clangor. Then Crown drew the longest breath that Nona had ever heard anyone draw. "Corona!" called out someone new. Nona had heard that voice once before on the broadcast. Footsteps, evolving into running feet. Something hit Crown with a big thump. A mess of sounds, clothes rustling, a sobbing, the audio squeaking as it tried to keep up, and Crown, sounding unlike any Crown that Nona had ever heard before, two voices trying to speak at once. "Don't touch me. Don't fucking touch me." Shush. Two voices trying to speak at once. I'm like, is that Crown and Ianthe, Corona and Ianthe, or Ianthe and whoever the fuck else is in there? Shush, my darling. Shush. Here we are. We're fine. I've got you, love. Oh my God, you're so cold. He's so cold. He's dead, sweetheart. It's me in here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. How could you? How could you? Please touch me. I'll die. What is happening? I mean, like, I kind of know, but, it's me in here. Okay. I love you. I love you. I love you. I've missed you so much. Please be real. I'm real. We're real. We? What? Oh, God, Yanthe, said Crown, and her voice changed a little. This is sick. Look at him. I hate you. No, you don't. You always say that. Don't cry, honey. You can't cry if I can't cry with you. It's not fair. I can't cry at the moment unless I do the tear ducts manually. What? Is she inside Babs's body? What's... What? Did I not notice that? What? 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 Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so that was after the... Okay, okay, what? Okay, where's the description? Frighteningly pale skin, hair alarmingly perfect. Okay, that should have been the hint. Wait, brown? Okay, that's what I missed. I missed that when I was going through because I didn't think it was anyone we knew. Dead white. Dead white. Not just like pale like Yanthe pale. Wow, I really did not pick up on that. What the fuck? I mean, I'm assuming the primary body is too important to risk, but now I'm like, wait, the dead person with the fashion hair? That's Babs, not Gideon. The dead-looking person with the fashion hair? Yeah. Wasn't startlingly handsome and very obviously dead person with fashion hair. But both of them are very obviously dead. Kind of. Ish? Oh my goodness gracious. What? 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 Okay. Okay, so she also does look dead. The skin was rendered pallid, with the same weird waxy quality. Warm-colored skin that should have been a similar brown hue to notice, except there was something wrong with it. Okay. 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 Oh my goodness gracious. I can't cry at the moment unless I do the tear ducts manually. Look at you, more beautiful than ever, even with crappy jewelry and a million split ends. Studs, darlings? Studs, darling? Earrings on a diet? Crown was hiccuping, sobbing, laughing all at once. Don't do that. Don't say what Babs would say. You know I always said what Babs would say, except when Babs said what I wanted. What I would. We kept you honest. Come here, my heart's love, said the voice, and Crown's sobs were suddenly muffled, then quieted, then silenced altogether. After a while, Crown said, How did you know I was here? I didn't, said the other voice. I've got people combing 3 other planets right now trying to find you. I never thought you'd be here. God, what a fuck-up. He's going to assume I did this on purpose. None of this has been my fault. How did you end up on this miserable rock, darling? It's a long story. I've got time. Come on. Let's talk inside. No, leave the vehicle. Just get inside. I'm not at full bore at the moment, so it's dangerous out here. Come on, hurry up. The hiccuping was sniffled away, and Crown said urgently, No, I need the car. Ianthe, I need your help. Anything, but come inside. No, wait. Another clang, footsteps, the noise of a car door opening. The other voice that had been so tender did not bother to hide its revulsion as it said, Oh, you've got to be kidding me. She needs your help, said Crown. Camilla's head lifted. I thought she had exited this ghastly vale of tears, said the other voice, not at all clear. Sorry, I read forward. Didn't Harrowheart tell you? The voice cooled and hardened like an ice cube. Didn't Harrow... What? When did you talk to Harrow? Oh, right, on the planet. Yeah, when she talked to Calamities, I just broken recorded. Wow. Just help me get Judith inside. You have to help her. The sedative's going to wear off soon. Ianthe, you're the only one. Ianthe, do not look at me like that. If you look at me like that, I am walking away. If you want me, you take her too, okay? The other voice rose in drawling, disgusted plaintiveness. Judith Deuteros? Judith, calendar for every birthday Deuteros? Really? It's the blue madness, Ianthe. She can't... Judith Deuteros, who, when we played Marry, Kill, Reanimate, used to say reanimate because nobody would be able to tell the difference. That Judith Deuteros? We suffer tapped the flip-flop. The flip-flop. She tapped the flip-flop. The flip-top and pressed a button and said tersely, Check the basement now. Where's the guard? Who has eyes down there? What is happening? And the speaker's Crown was saying, I can't be the one to let her die. Not when I've let everyone else. Oh God, honey, nip that in the bud. Nobody cares about Judith Deuteros. Seriously, my plans cannot afford Judith Deuteros. She's going to be absolutely crazy in the coconut until number 7 leaves, Corona. It's really nicer to kill her. 2/3 of the barracks necromancers are dead already. There's only a handful left, and I had to put down 3 of them yesterday who absolutely weren't going to make it, and they looked significantly livelier than Deuteros. Stop looking at me like that. Do you like the outfit? No. Crown's voice was chilly. White makes Babs look peaky. Wait till you see me in it. I bet. I said, stop looking at me like that, said the voice languidly. Come on, Corona, you're pouting and I'm immune. I'm a lictor now. I have seen, as some poets would put it, some shit. I really think you ought to let me put her down. I know what you're thinking. You think you can't come home again except as the conquering hero. Well, you're wrong. 1, absolutely nobody gave a hot toot about Judith, and 2, they made our birthday a memorial holiday. Not a congratulations on the lictorhood, our daughter of the 3rd day, a Corona with Tridentarius, our darling gone too soon day. Talk about vom. When I heard, I nearly died laughing. Have I hurt your feelings already, love? I didn't mean to. Carl's voice was quiet. Ianthe, please, there's so much I don't understand. About you, about what happened, about Gideon. The voice did not sound at all pleased when it said, So you do remember her name. I was on a shuttle with her body for months and months. I want to know what's going on. Okay, this is when I should have read, the previous, the story that came before this, because I'm like, what? How, what? But also, after they left, Harrow on that planet, we have no idea what happened. We have no idea who got Gideon when. We know she was gone by the end of the 1st book, beginning of the 2nd. So either Blood of Eden got in there quick, or God knows. There's a lot to explain. Are you going to let me come inside, or are you going to tell me out here? The voice said, That's up to you, darling. What do you mean? Just because I'm using Babs as a butt puppet does not mean that I'm without resources, said the voice. I'm a lictor. Yes, multiple puppets are a pain. I'm hoping the expert is out there somewhere admiring my handiwork. Oh, that is some information there. I mean, we've had a lot of information in the last few pages, but, I'm guessing she means God. But, weren't you the last one
who saw him and, like, saved him and shit, so what's happening? But I'm not blind, Corona. My pretty golden girl roughing it in your jacket and your earrings. I'll give him this. He said earrings or necklace. Nona watched we suffer tense. Something else was coming through her earpiece. She said, not until we hear the call. No, the signal. Crown whispered, what the hell are you talking about, Yanthe? You're scaring me. You're scaring me. Another sound. From somewhere to Crown's left, there was a low, brief sound like a call. A note that rose until something muffled it. It sounded like the captain. Crown said, I don't know what you want from me. Only what you want from me, said the other voice. And I'm going to be piqued if you make me be the bad guy here, okay? I am not having the world's most fun at the moment. I can't even hug you with my own arms, touch you with my own body. Only Babs is... There's a metaphor in there. In conclusion, I am not self-soothing over here, and studs never suited you, and you know it. Exactly how much necromancy can you do? That's an interesting question, said the voice. Yeah, I just skipped forward. I can. If I pause like that, that's usually what's happening. Another long pause. The voice said impatiently, nod or shake, are they listening? There was no answer, none that Nona could see. Camilla's head had lifted entirely. Suffer was saying into the earpiece, do not line it up. I understand, said the voice. Don't worry, baby. I'm not mad at you. He told me that you were. He told me what you were. Something happened. The speaker crackled, and the second voice got much louder, like they were talking right into the receiver. Listen, dregs, to the Saint of Awe, the voice said. I am very pleased you handed my sister back to me. That is why I am not currently flattening a planet that, I'll be honest with you, nobody really gives a shit about. I'm changing the terms of the demand, but don't panic. You see, I don't particularly care about Blood of Eden. In fact, I wouldn't mind if you all survived for a few hundred more years. Do you think we're fighting you on Antioch? You think we're fighting you on Antioch? You think you're the main event? Sure, you've made a hell of a mess, but we're already doing cleanup. My eyes are not on you. Do you understand? Go and live another 5,000 years. I only want every house asset you've got. I know what you have, and I'll be taking all of it. I want the 6th house oversight body. I want Camilla Hecht on my front doorstep. And most of all, I want Harrowhark Nona Jesimus as intact as you have her at this moment. Or the whole planet is forfeit. Corona, don't cry again. I'm really not angry with you. It's funny that anyone thought you could fool me. Suffer said, line it up. Crown was saying, Deuteros, promise you're not going to touch Deuteros. And the other voice said impatiently, if I have to look at Deuteros a second longer, I'll die. I can't believe you're going this far because you think you'll look good in a uniform. You were always nutty about uniforms. Why Deuteros? Camilla said urgently, no, listen to her. Suffer said, what the hell is it? In a not very nice way. She's trying to tell us something. But all Crown said was, she listened to me. I owe her. Oh, that's not special. Anyone would listen to you if you unbutton your top 2 buttons. Well, no, not Deuteros. You were never in her line. Look, I'm taking you both in so you can relax. You just look so beautiful when you're nervous. You're a dick, said Corona, half crying, half laughing. Suffer's eyes slid to Nona's, or maybe they had always been there. Nona sat there with a mouthful of water slowly going warm. A door opened and closed on the audio, close to where the voices were coming from. There was an unmistakable click. The flip top was held to Suffer's ear. Someone was speaking over it. Suffer said quietly to Camilla, they're lined up. They can take the shot. Don't. Our lives are at stake. Don't take it. Over the line, Crown's voice suddenly changed. Her mouth had moved in some other direction. She said, oh my God, no! The other voice drawled, don't freak out, darling. He's a tame lictor. He won't hurt you. He can't really hurt anyone anymore. You and your little firebrands took him in as a pet, didn't you? Well, I'm taking him back to Papa as a gift. That is, if Papa can look up from his mid-dysmeriad crisis long enough to pay attention. They appear, don't they? And a wonderfully familiar voice crowned out in tones that were unfamiliar. Silence! Shan't. You might be the saint of duty, but I've been on call as teacher's whipping girl for the last 6 months, so fuck to you. The other voice said, I can say what I like about him. Anyway, what do you think? Do we take in the gatecrasher or what? Kill her, said the voice. Dead weight. Crown said, I'll walk back out to the streets and let the people have me if you touch a hair on her head. And I'm not going anywhere with him. The drawling voice despaired, Fine, get her inside, but he comes too, and that's not negotiable. He told you about Harrow? He told you about Cam? He's told me everything. The new voice said impatiently, "Get the fish hook out of the fish. Second earring, right ear." The last thing the audio recorded was a blurry ow, and then the line went dead. Nona thrilled with recognition and relief. The new voice had been Pyrrha's. Is it Pyrrha pretending to be Gideon? What's happening? Were they trying to just shoot Babs's body? Or were they trying to shoot both of them? Because I doubt Corona would agree to her twin dying if she was gonna keep living. I don't know. Every chapter I get more confused. God damn it. What? On me for not realizing that it was Babs's body, but in my defense, there was a lot going on there, okay? I didn't have time to go back and check that description. What the fuck? I have to, like... Well, I might be able to read one more chapter, but I have to go have dinner with my mom afterwards. Okay, so this one took me 53 minutes. I think it was 20 pages. So... No, not John. We started from day 5. So 285 to 304. Exactly 20 pages. 20 pages took me an hour. 305 to 318. That's less, right? I can't count. That's 15 pages, not 20. So almost an hour, but not quite. Possibly 45 minutes. I don't know. I'm tired. Okay, I kept reading because, of course. Oh god. I mean, this room is gonna get dark pretty soon, so even if I kept reading here, it probably, lighting would be weird. So if I want to keep reading, I should probably go to the other room and have the top light on. Let's see when the sun sets officially. I think it's like 5. 5:04. Obviously, it'll take a little while longer for it to get dark, but... Okay.